There are probably not much that really gets your commentators, your globe-trotting commentators, excited about matches, but this is an exciting one to me. Agassi has won the last 2 times they've played, including Wimbledon this year, as we mentioned to you. But Patrick, the first match that we showed today with Pete Sampras trying to find a solution to the game of the Dutchman, and he did. I thought it was interesting for one reason. I know this one is, to me, interesting for another reason. You've got 2 real contenders with Agassi playing so well this year. And then you've got Kuerten, who, as you said, wins the French Championships, then goes away for a while. I mean, I think he was just trying to absorb the fact that he was that good a player. Now I think he's begun to realize, having won 2 Super 9s in Europe, that he really is. Now he is fighting the fact that he's on a hard court against a guy that really ripped him apart. It's a nice dynamic, I think.
Well, it's great, and it's also 2 of the really charismatic players and great shot makers in tennis today. Both of them really pound the ball from the back of the court. We'll see a different type of match, obviously, than we saw Sampras-Krajicek. To me, the interesting also dynamic in this one, Cliff, is that 2 years ago, Andre Agassi was in his slump here in Cincinnati. And he played Kuerten right on this court and got embarrassed against Kuerten in about 45 minutes, I recall. Kuerten just demolished him. And after that match, they asked the Brazilian Kuerten about Agassi. And he said, you know what? The game's changed. He said, you know, the game's gotten faster. The players are better. You know who remembered that comment was Agassi himself. He remembered that Kuerten said that after that match that day and sort of took it. It was a real low point for Agassi at that point, because he really had to decide at that stage, and he did just a couple months later, that he had to go back to the minor leagues, to the challengers, to get his game back on track. And
did he ever get it back on track?
Yeah. Oh, he sure did.
Gustavo Kuerten, he's going to take on Andre Agassi. We are live in Cincinnati. First point. I was in the locker room having a little rehab done for what I'm now told is tennis elbow. I've never had it before. It's not pleasant. And I was looking at Kuerten, he had his shirt off, and I said, man, you need to eat a little bit. It's just a slip of a guy.
Well, you get a look in the first 2 points at the type of shot making I was talking about. Huge winner from the Brazilian on the backhand up the line. And Agassi answers with his own forehand rip. When you look at Kuerten, when you look at his physique, you realize that it's not about muscle, how you can hit the ball. This guy is so loose.
He's wiry.
His legs have gotten bigger, though. You see his legs are getting some weight in them now, and that's where you need to be as a tennis player. You need a little more strength in the lower body.
Talking about legs, what about Agassi's? I mean, he's showing a little bit more leg because his shorts are not all the way down to below his knees, but he sure looks a lot more athletic now, in my view, and he is more athletic. He practices a lot with his shirt off, and the guy's made of steel now. Does a lot of weightlifting. Gil Reyes is probably his best friend and fitness trainer. Break point for Agassi, and Agassi gets a break. First game of the match. He'll serve. Let's join Luke Jensen now, who caught up with Pete Sampras, who just had a big and dramatic win in a way over Richard Krajicek, the number 7 seed. So let's go down to him now.
Pistol, that last game was unbelievable. It came out smoking.
I did. It was, I feel like serving for the match, looking into the sun. But it was a strange match, to be honest with you. We both were kind of struggling in the beginning of the match. He had a break point. I mean, if you give Richard a lead, he's very tough to break. And for some reason, after the first set, he just kind of lost it. You know, one game he double faulted 3 times. I got kind of a shank return, and before I knew it, I was, you know, 5-2 up. So, you know, Richard is so tough for me to play because his serve's so big, and second serve also. But I think I got a little bit of timing and rhythm on his serve finally. And last 3-4 times I've played him, he's kicked my butt.
Now, was it the strategy to go after him? I could see on the first break point you had early in the first set, you went after him. You tried to really snap off some good shots. Even when you were chipping, you were trying to make it nice and firm.
I'm trying to. It's very tough when he's serving that second 110. And on this court, which is playing pretty quick, I just need to be aggressive. These guys volley way too well, and Richard covers the net very well. And, you know, Paul told me before the match, use one lob. you know, and hit that love 30 in the first set, and it landed on the line. And he's a very tough guy to pass. And but it felt good to finally beat him. I mean, you know, the last 3 times he beat me up pretty good.
Yeah, after the first set, Paul said he was happy with the way you were changing up your serves, the paces. You were hitting kicks, going into the body, and using the bomb. Was that really planned going into the match?
It was planned. Richard likes everything kind of out wide and into the body, and using some second serves as first serve can really help. You know, he in the past has gotten a hold of my serve and returns very well. And today I made an effort to mix it up, go into the body, go out wide, use the second serve, and mix it up. And I did it, and I got through.
All right, Pete, thanks.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke. And that was with Pete Sampras just after his win earlier today. Now you're watching the second game with Agassi serving. First point to Agassi. 1 game to love. He's got the break against Gustavo Kuerten. Sampras to take on the winner of this one now in the semis.
Well, one thing that Kuerten needs, Cliff, to create his big ground strokes is a little bit of time. And you can see where he's standing on the return, well behind the baseline. And what Agassi's been able to do in the first 8 points of the match is rush Kuerten. And because he's able to do that, he's forced some errors. He got a quick break, and Kuerten quickly feeling the pressure. Agassi's come out of the gates fast today, unlike he did last night when he really struggled in the early goings against Novak. But Andre knows going into this one that he needs to be sharp from the opening bell.
Sharp enough that he's only given away 2 points so far, 40-15. Two games to love.
Kuerten's had good results on hard courts as well this year, though, Cliff. We talked about earlier, made the semifinals out in Indian Wells, lost to Moya there. That actually propelled Moya to #1 briefly. Spoke to Larry Passos, who's Kuerten's longtime coach, great guy as well, earlier this week, and said after the Davis Cup match that Kuerten and the Brazilians lost. There's Larry in France, indoors, on a carpet. Actually, Kuerten won a long 5-set match against Grosjean, and of course had the great clay court season, did well at Wimbledon. And Larry said, you know, Guga was just exhausted, really needed a break, which he took after the Davis Cup. Didn't play last week in Montreal. They went home to Brazil, relaxed for a while. They did some training and came here fresh, and it showed. He's played well this week, had a good win over Haas yesterday.
Did we mention his effort against Spain in the Davis Cup, by the way?
And in the first round, no, we didn't mention that yet. He beat both Moya and Correia on clay in Spain.
He slaughtered both of them, as a matter of fact. Straight set wins, and that got them to the second round this year of the Davis Cup. Kuerten and Agassi live from Cincinnati. Agassi with a break first set, 2-1. He'll serve when we come back. Andre Agassi leading Gustavo Kuerten 2-1. He's got the break in the first set. Luke Jensen caught up with the man that you're looking at there on your screen. He is the coach of Andre Agassi. How about it, Luke? What did he say?
Yeah, I spoke to Brad, and he said that he wasn't concerned with the slow start of Andre Agassi last night. Backhand is really not a problem. He just hit a few more extra balls on that backhand side. What he did want to say is he Andre does remember that match a couple of years ago where he was really at the lowest point of his career. And he really wants to stick it to Kuerten today. Back to you, Cliff.
Thanks a lot, Luke. It's actually a good story, that. Of course, he's had his he's already had his revenge, hasn't he? When you take out a guy at Wimbledon as badly as he did, sort of makes a statement.
Big serving from Agassi here early. First 2 games. It always happens, right, Cliff?
Yeah. Having
the guys serving double fault.
By the way, having said that about Gustavo Kuerten, we've got to also point out that he's one of the very nicest guys on the tour, and that nobody takes offense at him at all.
Players need things to motivate them. First ace for Andre. You know, the great players in all sports, they always talked about Michael Jordan looking for little ways to get himself motivated.
A postscript on Agassi last night, Patrick. It wasn't his best effort, was it?
No, it wasn't his best, but to me it said a lot about where Agassi is now in his career, because he didn't play his best. He knew he wasn't playing his best, and he didn't let it bother him from, you know, winning the match. He didn't let it frustrate him that he made 38 unforced errors on the back end. Even when he was winning big titles and at the top of tennis, he would still have those days where, if things weren't going right, he would lose his intensity and lose his focus. Last night proved to me that even when he was really struggling in a way that I haven't seen him struggle before, you know, making that many errors off his backhand side, which is usually his most consistent shot, that it didn't deter him, sort of keeping his state of mind and going in the right direction.
He was going to hit the punisher right there and make the approach. Kuerten knew where it was going. That's the Agassi match with Novak last night that we've been talking about, won by Agassi in straight sets, 2 tie-breaks. After Novak got out to a 3-game-to-love lead in the first set.
It's just some big hitting off the ground. Both players pretty much on the baseline, just firing. Still game point for the Brazilian.
Got a big serve. That was 114 mile an hour, and it was good enough to beat Tommy Haas from Germany, the number 11 seed yesterday in straight sets, 7-5, 7-5. Now it's Agassi Kuerten, first set. Guga Kuerten has got his supporters everywhere, including here, 3-2, first set. Buckle up in this Sunday for an exciting day of racing on ESPN. First at 12:30 p.m. NASCAR Winston Cup, the Frontier at the Glen. Points leader Dale Jarrett tries to improve on his 5th place finish of a year ago. Then at 3:30, kart racing action heats up with a Miller Lite 200. The drivers trying to conquer a road course for the 2nd straight week. Sunday afternoon, ESPN. And for more on all of this, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com.
course, Agassi right near the top in Super 9 titles at 9, right at the top. I think he and Sampras tied in quarterfinals, though. Of course, Agassi been to a lot more. 3-0 in Cincy, 16-8. Kuerten has been in the quarterfinals here once before. He's got that one.
Yep. You said earlier, and I very much agree with it, Patrick, the guy has got more shots, really, more variety in his game than anybody that plays today. Here's an example.
Well, here he's got time, and he can flick the ball at the last second. He can hold the ball and wait. He waited till Agassi made his move. Easily rolled it cross court. Agassi came out of the blocks quickly and surprised Kuerten, but now I get the feeling that Guga is sort of getting into the rhythm of the pace of Agassi. He's starting to get into a few more rallies. I think the longer the rallies go, it will favor Kuerten a little bit more. It'll give him a little more time.
Miss hit his long game point for Agassi. It's been an interesting year in a way for Kuerten, because part of history at Indian Wells, Carlos Moya beat him for the first time, and that made Carlos Moya #1 in the world. Then he won Monte Carlo and Rome, both on clay in Europe. 2 Mercedes Super 9s. And then at Roland Garros, he was the favorite. At least in my book, he was the favorite for the French championships. He went all the way to the quarterfinals, and Andre Medvedev surprised him in straight sets and went on to get to the final, where Agassi beat him. Agassi leading 4-2 now.
Well, it was very windy that day at Roland Garros, Cliff, in Paris in that quarterfinal, and that actually helped Medvedev, who's a bigger guy, stronger, and can hit through the wind a bit better, and I think that really hurt Guga. And because I say that because it's a bit windy today, and Agassi hits the ball a bit harder. Well, a little harder that time, way over hitting that return. But that's the Agassi strategy in this match, is to take the ball early, to punish it, not necessarily to go for winners, but to get the ball on Kuerten in a hurry. Not give the Brazilian time to set up. So that's a good example right there. Not a big return, but Agassi took it early and hit it right down the middle. And so Kuerten just a little bit off in his balance and his preparation on that backhand. And on that one, the good wide serve from Kuerten. Agassi slightly missed hitting the return. Guga had time to set up for that forehand. Well, we saw the speed and versatility from Kuerten, and here we see it from Agassi. Look how he's moving forward even before Kuerten hit it. And that was a nice bunt up the line. He hit it just hard enough to get it out of reach of Kuerten. Big serve, his third ace.
Agassi has won this tournament a couple of times. He's also had a couple of dodgy results. Remember, even last year, did not play a particularly good match against Vince Spadia. Take nothing away from Vince. It was a great day for him. But you mentioned about how just a few years ago, Guga just mauled him here. Anyway, I mean, that's a microcosm of his career, because it's been a roller coaster ride for Agassi. Little late getting there.
this again, Cliff. Agassi taking the return early, punishing the ball right down the middle. And Kuerten he needs a little bit more time to set up. And he's made a lot of errors off that play. Agassi will continue to do that. Especially right here off the second serve.
The reason he needs more time is because he has much longer swings. Agassi has a much more compact game. He has spent all of his life stalking the baseline, and Gustavo Kuerten has been on clay courts behind the baseline. It's a big point for Kuerten there. A couple of breaks. That would about do it for the set. Deuce.
I can just see Kuerten feeling the pressure. He's rushing a bit. I mean, the ball's on him so fast. He doesn't have time to breathe right now.
Of course, he knew that was coming too, didn't he?
That's why he threw in his first double at deuce. 2 foot faults called on him in a row.
The pressure of the return of Agassi draws the second double fault from Gustavo Kuerten. He's down 5-2. Agassi will serve for the first set when we come back. A little wave going on here. Emphasis on little, but then some of the other crowd have joined in too. 11,000 people again, another sellout here at the Great American Insurance ATP Championship. Agassi serving for the first set.
Well, since last night, you can see Agassi has held his serve 14 straight games. That's something that you pointed out earlier, Cliff, the improved serve of Agassi. Brad Gilbert and Andre have been working on some more pop on that first serve. Agassi holding up the new balls. Certainly it's been paying off in his matches.
We were due off the air at 3 o'clock today, but we're going to continue with this match. We are live at the Great American Insurance ATP Championship. This is the third center court match of the day. It is Gustavo Kuerten taking on Andre Agassi. We're in the first set, 5-2. Agassi serving for the set. Earlier, Pete Sampras over Richard Krajicek, and before that, Yevgeny Kafelnikov over Tim Henman. Of the quarterfinal lineup will be Rafter of Australia, Chang of the USA, and you can watch that alongside us tonight, 11:30 Eastern Time on ESPN 2. 15:30.
Well, Agassi's streak of 14 straight service games in jeopardy here as Kuerten looking to sneak back into this set. You see this game, Kuerten's had a little more time, Cliff. Agassi, you could see in that point behind the baseline. Andre's not giving Kuerten any time to get into a rhythm until this game.
Makes that half volley from the baseline look easy. Believe me, it is not.
It's not for any mortals, but it's sort of routine for Agassi. Second break point for the Brazilian. Ooh, overhits badly on that forehand. He's had a lot of time. First serve for Agassi in the match so far, just under 70%. And forced errors from Kuerten growing. It's all because Agassi's put him under so much pressure and taking away his time. And Agassi, in addition to that improved serve, Cliff, has been so solid at net. That really got him out of a lot of trouble last night also against Novak.
Set point Agassi. Agassi, you know, Patrick, there was a sort of fragile nature in Agassi's game that used to always make me wonder about, you know, how much he wanted it, how much he needed it. Of course, he's made all the money he could ever possibly spend and then some in his career, but he's so important to tennis in my view. I don't have that feeling anymore. I mean, he can lose. He's not obviously not going to win every match, but he seems to be a lot more consistent, more constant. Not as fragile a player at all. Having a great year as a result.
Well, just about 2 years ago, Cliff, Agassi had to really take account of himself and sort of look at himself in the mirror and say, now, wait a second, I can keep sort of going the way I'm going and let my talent win, and it will win out a lot of the time. Big ace from Kuerten. And I can have those matches where I'm not playing my best and sort of say, okay, I didn't have a good day. And that's almost easier to deal with. It's harder and puts more pressure on yourself to say, you know what, even if I'm not at my best, I'm going to do everything I can to try to win. And I think he's made that transition now and mentally.
He's at that point, that's true. Kuerten holds on first game of the second set, but Agassi won the first behind 2 breaks, 6-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now.
Agassi on his game right from the first ball today, Cliff. And he's dominated Kuerten. First set to Agassi, 1-0 Kuerten in the second.
6-2 first set to Agassi. Kuerten has held on first game of the second. Agassi about to serve. We're live here in Mason, Ohio, just outside of Cincinnati. First set to Agassi. Now we're in the second. Sampras a winner today over Richard Krajicek. First time he's beaten him in 5 tries. Patrick Rafter will take on Michael Chang. You can watch that alongside us at 11:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2 tonight.
There's your Sampras win, 4-2. It was a struggle the first set, but routine in the second. 2 tight sets as Kafelnikov keeps his hopes of taking over #1, at least after this week, alive. He's looked good this week. Love. I guess he thought there might be a call on that sideline. Could a quick look up, excuse me, and Norm Chris, the chair umpire, but Norm signaling to Andre that he agreed with the call. The ball did skip off the line. Well, Agassi has to be careful now because that's the shot that really hurt him last night, that backhand. He's made 2 straight errors. Certainly, if he makes another 1 or 2 in this game, he'll start to think about last night. It's not something he wants to do. 15-30.
Break points now for the Brazilian. Breaker serve to Kuerten, and it is 2 games to love.
Well, Andre told me last night after that match, Cliff, that he started to try to sort of baby his backhand a little too much, not take it early, not go after it. And that's certainly what he did in that last game. Whereas in the first set, he was really stepping into the court and attacking each and every shot. For some reason, got a little bit defensive in that last game. And Kuerten now will start to feel a little bit of confidence, as he showed on that punishing forehand.
You tuned in for our regularly scheduled program, which is inside the PGA Tour, Senior PGA Tour. Just be advised that this is live coverage of the ATP Tour from Cincinnati. It is Andre Agassi and Gustavo Kuerten. Second set. Kuerten with the lead 2 games to love, now 40 love, but he lost the first 6-2, and will be staying with this match till it's over. Players will change ends. It is 3 games to love Gustavo Kuerten in the second set. Michael Chang tonight in action against Patrick Rafter, 11:30 Eastern time on ESPN2. Patrick Rafter, 2-time US Open champ and the holder here of this Cincinnati event. It'll be a net player, Patrick Rafter against the baseliner Michael Chang. Quarterfinals. The winner will take on Yevgeny Kafelnikov in the semis. Agassi to serve to Kuerten. Down 3 games to love in the second. 1 break.
Agassi struggling so far in the second set. That time comes up with his best 1-2. There's Kuerten when he has some time. The type of shot making he can come up with.
That goes along. Here's a chance for a double break in the second set to Kuerten. How quickly has he turned this around?
How quickly has Agassi lost it?
Not yet for the second break, says Agassi, and it is deuce. Serving into the sun, we've mentioned that a couple of times. Both of the boys in the first or second match of the day, rather, talked about the sun there. Now game point for Agassi. This changes things.
couple of screaming winners from Agassi, one off the forehand, this one on the backhand.
Big comeback there, and it is 3-1. Got to figure with 2 breaks that the set is, even early at 4-0, is pretty close to being closed out. 1 break is a very different story.
Important just to get Agassi's confidence back, Cliff. Obviously, rather be at 3-1 than 4-0, but he was really struggling those first 3 games. Now plays a good first point on the Kuerten serve. One thing Agassi says about Kuerten, though, is he can really hit big serves and stretch you wide in both courts. He's got one of the best serves, actually, from a right-hander wide in that ad court. That's that looseness in his arm. Very free-flowing swing.
Never forget the French Open final when he just used that serve so well and so often. I could hardly believe it. A little late to get up to that one. The ball relatively flat, and if the ball gets low like that, he's got to be able to put a little bit of topspin on it to be able to get it over and then in on the other side. 30-15 Kuerten.
3 foot faults called on Kuerten now. He's sliding that back foot up. I just took a glimpse over after that previous point, Cliff, quickly as I saw Larry Passos in the corner, who's Kuerten's coach. And after that slice that Agassi missed, a slice backhand, he sort of mimicked that shot, Larry, as if he likes that move from his player against Agassi.
That one goes wide. You can see there in that shot how close he gets to the line. And then he jumps up over the line when he makes contact with the ball. There's Larry Passos, his coach.
Catching a few rays. Those
Game
Brazilians
point.
like to do that.
Yeah. He likes to do it. Gustavo is a big
surfer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In fact, he wants to know where the best surfing is, no matter where he is. Gets there in a hurry when he's not on the tennis court. He's in front here, 1 break. 4-1, second set. Down a set. 4-1. Kuerten in the second set. Agassi won the first behind 2 breaks. Agassi was very nearly down 2 breaks in this, but he was able to hang on. Now it's 4-1 Agassi to serve in the second. This is live of Great American Insurance ATP Championship, Mason, Ohio. This is the 3rd quarterfinal match of the day. Earlier beat Sampras over Richard Krajicek for the first time in 5 outings. Kafelnikov over Henman, the number 4 and 5 seeds respectively. Chang and Rafter will play tonight, and you can watch them at 11:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. If you tuned in for Inside the Senior PGA Tour, we're going to be staying with this match. Gustavo Kuerten and Andre Agassi. Until it's over, you can watch a Senior PGA Tour regularly scheduled time Sunday at 7 a.m.
Kuerten's been able to actually do to Agassi what Agassi was doing to him in that first set. Take the return, hit it bat hard and deep right down the middle. It's been sort of a spotty match as far as the numbers go, Cliff. players making a lot more errors and unforced errors than winners. A lot of that to do with the wind. A lot of that to do with just the pace of shot from the players.
Yeah, it's breezy.
I'll get it after this point, yeah.
It's been that way all day, really.
There are the winners and unforced errors. See, only 7 winners for Agassi. Game point for Agassi.
A little bit of Tiger Woods there.
A little bit of feel.
Agassi holds on 4 games to 2. Gustavo Kuerten to serve. Take a look at this.
Might be the shot of the day here. Look at this. It was perfect. No bounce at all. Just a little bounce at the end. Just a little touch.
He's the showman. He's from Las Vegas.
He's got his hard hat on, though, the last year or so. There's that pace. See, well, that may go down as an unforced error, and to me, that's sort of ridiculous because there's a shot hit from Agassi with just tremendous amount of pace. No, it's not a clean winner, but that's just as good as a winner. Almost impossible to handle that heat. That's why sometimes I get a little annoyed with the way we come up with our own stats about errors and winners.
Stats that you don't have to speculate about, because I keep asking you about which one of is the quicker player of the two, Patrick, which is the quicker player of the two, because our friends at Lucid Vision now are able to give us that information. Agassi has covered 0.63 of a mile. Kuerten has covered 0.61 of a mile. Anyway, our stats show that Kuerten is a little quicker about the court than Agassi.
.1530.
His average speed 9.28 miles per hour. Agassi's 8.93.
It's actually pretty slow. Most of the time the numbers are up around 12, 13 miles per hour. And that's just because they haven't had that many long rallies. You know, both the players are playing pretty much down the middle of the court because of the wind.
30 all.
They're really trying to beat each other with depth and pace, not really with pulling their opponents wide and working the point. So there it is again. That's a perfect example. Agassi taking the ball early, not much movement in the point, but a tremendous amount of pace from the Agassi return and taking away the time again from the Brazilian.
Break point for Agassi now to get back on serve in the second. Remember how close he was to being 2 breaks down and love 4. So how big does that all become now? Back on serve, 4 games to 3. Agassi will serve, and we come back to our live coverage of the Great American Insurance from Mason, Ohio. Live coverage, Great American Insurance ATP Championship. Andre Agassi won the first set. Now we're on serve. He was nearly down 2 breaks and 4 love in the second, but has made a comeback. He will serve to level now. Miss Forehand, Steffi Graf announcing her retirement today. She won Wimbledon 7. She won at least 4 titles at every one of the Grand Slams. And she also, in 1988, won the Golden Slam because she won all 4 and then Olympic gold. 374 weeks at #1. Actually, history is going to judge you as the best player of all time, I think. Anyway, she's had enough of the injuries, and she's calling it quits.
Too bad. We're hoping to be able to get to see Steffi one more time in New York at the U.S. Open, but I think she's just becoming really, obviously became frustrated, as you said, Cliff, with having to try to keep coming back. Injuries keep coming up for her. She's not able to really perform and prepare the way she likes to, which is 100%, 110%. Able to come back from that knee injury was remarkable. You know, she had a very, very serious operation. And for someone that relied on her movement as much as she did to come back to win the French this year, reach the finals at Wimbledon.
Lindsay Davenport beat her in the final of Wimbledon. She beat Martina Hingis in the French Championships. 15-all. According to the way that the wind is blowing into our backs, I would say that the wind is going into Agassi's face. But as you've pointed out a few times, I mean, it swirls down there, so don't take it from me. But the sun certainly is not helping either player serving from the side where Agassi is now. 30-15, 3-4. And I'm not sure that the wind blowing into him actually hurts Agassi, because he hits the ball so flat. May even help him a bit to keep it in.
Yeah, I feel like he can really go after the ball even more.
Gain points for Agassi to level the second set.
Just a second double for Agassi in the match. His first serve percentage is still good at 66%.
Gustavo Kuerten is still a kid in a lot of ways. What's his favorite thing about Cincinnati? Kings Island. He's just across the highway here. Agassi holds on 4 games all. Good comeback, Patrick.
Yep, and he was struggling in the first 3-4 games of the set, Andre. But the match has really been in his hands. He's been the guy that's been going for more pace off the ground, taking the ball earlier. Kuerten has had to react to whatever Agassi's done so far. He loves this time of year too, Andre Agassi. We talked about Rafter being Mr. August. Well, these 2 weeks he's had some pretty good success over the years. 3 titles at the Canadian, 2 titles here in Cincinnati. 58 and 11 combined.
You tuned in to watch Inside the PGA Tour. This is live coverage of the ATP Tour from Cincinnati. Agassi and Kuerten, second set. We're going to stay with this match through its entirety. Agassi, runner-up at the U.S. Open in '95. But when you talk about enjoying this time of the year, Patrick, that was the year when he won everything going up to the U.S. Open, and then lost to Pete Sampras in the final. (40-15). wide, 40-30. In '95, he had a 26-match winning streak during the summer hard courts. He won Washington, then Montreal, Cincinnati, and New Haven. Got to the final of the Open. It was the year of the Agassi-Sampras duel. Kuerten holds on. It's 5-4. We are on serve in the second set. Agassi won the first 2 breaks, 6-2. We're live in Cincinnati, everyone.
Back on serve in the second set. Agassi winning the first. Sort of interesting to me to look at our loosened shot chart for this match. Most times I'll say, look at where Agassi is standing. Look at where the person who's won the points is standing. Now, these are points won by Agassi, but I'm going to point out to you here what I've been talking about. Look where Kuerten is. Most of his time is actually right in the middle of the court. That means that Agassi's punishing him, as I've been talking about, straight down the middle, hard and deep, winning a lot of points that way, as I've been saying. Not really by moving Kuerten around too much, although by moving him a bit here to the backhand corner. Now let's look at the points won by Kuerten, and we can see the difference. Now look where Agassi is in this one, well behind the baseline. That means he hasn't been able to punish Kuerten, who's spending most of his time a little bit inside the baseline. So it just shows how what Andre's way of winning points has been, which has been sort of hard, flat, and deep, like essentially down the middle.
I like that when the map confirms what you've been saying.
Well, I only show it when it does. So they're always showing it to me, during our breaks. They only when it says if I'm right, and then put it up there. See, that's a point. That's an example of the normal way that Agassi wins points, by moving this player around and looking for the finisher. Those haven't been the points that he's been going to win the majority so far in the match. I think that's because he respects the movement, the ability of Kuerten to hit and move, or to move and hit at the same time. Good swinging serve wide.
30-15. Match is a minute short of an hour old. Game point for 5-all second set. I guess he doesn't waste much time between points. Agassi holds on. It's 5-all. Talking about wasting time between points, I guess you and I were making some comments about slow play, or we were watching a couple of guys, Kafelnikov, Agassi, who played pretty quickly, and Pete Sampras, before we did one of our interviews, brought that subject up. It's interesting what he kind of finds interesting about what we say. I guess he said, well, was that quick enough?
Right.
After one of his matches here in Cincinnati. Today was quick enough too. Thanks, Pete. Pete Sampras beating Richard Krajicek, the number 7 seed, for the first time in a while. 5 tries, actually. He's in the semifinals, waiting for the winner of this match. Again, if you tuned in to the PGA Tour show, this is live tennis. Third singles match of the day here on center court. Earlier today, Kafelnikov beating Tim Henman. Couple of big games coming up here, because the wind is a factor, the sun is a factor, and the score is a factor. It's 5-all, 15-all. Oh, he got a lot out of that serve.
He's gotten a lot out of that serve, particularly in this set, Cliff. It's really paid dividends for Kuerten. 75% of his first serve points he's won. A lot of freebies, especially with that wide serve.
Very loose, Gustavo Kuerten, both as a human being, personality-wise, and his game. Uncharacteristic loose return from Agassi. Game points for Kuerten.
You just said it, Cliff. The wind just halted that ball. Kuerten almost swinging and missing. You have to be so light with your feet, always changing your positioning when it's very windy as it is today. Big serving from the Brazilian to hold on here and go up 6-5.
Just as I was suggesting that the conditions were going to be tough for Kuerten, he wins it relatively easily. Agassi will face those when we come back. First set to Agassi. We are on serve in the second, 5-6. Agassi is about to serve to try to get into a tiebreak for set number 2. Start of the NFL season just around the corner, but we're primed for the preseason Metrodome. It is the Giants and the Vikings. This is match 1, game 1 rather, preseason games. And that leads all the way to our full season of Sunday Night Football, the second on ESPN. Kickoff is set for 8:15 p.m. For more, log on to ESPN.com or to the Go Network, go.com.
Both players have used that wide one and the deuce scored effectively. Always a bit tougher for those Western forehands to handle those good hard wide serves. There's another one by Agassi as he continues to pick on that side of the Brazilian. Point away from a second set tiebreak.
Line ball serve, and Agassi holds on. A tiebreak, first to 7 with a 2-point lead, will decide the second set, and if Agassi wins it, the match. '29-year-old from Las Vegas, Agassi taking on this man Gustavo Kuerten from Brazil. Florianopolis, a very different, laid-back city.
Agassi more compact with that forehand return, so able to handle that wide one. Kuerten quick to pounce on that short ball. This tiebreak's going to be about who can hit the bigger first ball in the rally. And Agassi tries to there, but catches that ball late. That was a tough ball to try to go up the line with, because Gustavo got some good weight behind that backhand. The ball really jumped off the court. A lot of topspin. Mini break to Kuerten.
2-0 in the tiebreak. Again, that loosey-goosey forehand costing Kuerten. Agassi wins the point, still down the mini break. 2-1 in serving for Kuerten. $123-mile-an-hour effort there. Solid ground strokes, both players. Finally, the error from Agassi. 4-1. Now he'll serve 2, one from that side, and then they'll change in.
Well, that's a dicey situation for Agassi to get himself into, the cross-court forehand rally with Kuerten.
Kuerten had a look at that pass, didn't make it. They'll change ends. 4 games, 4 points to 2. 6-2 first set. We're in the tiebreak second set. Agassi won the first.
See, Agassi's smart to keep serving to the Kuerten forehand, because he can create a lot of errors off that forehand, because he's getting to the forehand quickly. But in the rally, when Kuerten has a bit more time to set up, Agassi has to be careful of that shot from the Brazilian.
Will he go to the forehand this side?
I think he will.
Big point, 2-4.
That wide serve is paid off for Agassi.
And it pays off again. Good call, Patrick. This is still the mini break for the Brazilian, leading 4-3 now, but he is on the far less pleasant side to be playing tennis on at the moment. Call this a dead even tiebreak, even though Agassi's down a point.
Second.
Let second serve.
Shaky.
In the chair agrees with Agassi, or at least with the call, not with Agassi. Agassi looked up to him, looking for a change. 5-3.
Not a good miss from Andre there, Cliff, on a second serve. Kuerten now with a chance to unload a big first serve and get a couple set points.
He unloaded with a big serve, but he didn't get the set points because Agassi scintillating on the return. Now we are on serve, still down a point, but Agassi to serve at 4-5. He's trying to batter that forehand side still. Maybe a change up this time.
Kuerten's trying to stay back a little further. You see him there, give himself a little more time to create that swing.
That goes long, an error, an unforced one there from Kuerten. That was in his strike zone just fine. And even if he'd made that one, it wasn't wide enough to cause Agassi serious problems. That's a bad mistake from Kuerten. 5-all. Return from Kuerten. A half volley off the baseline from Agassi. I mean, every time he makes the shot, I'm amazed. Patrick McGrath just sits back and says, you know, this is the shot that's part of his arsenal. That one hits the tape and gives Agassi a set point and a match point. Amazing shot from Agassi. From Kuerten, the players will change ends at 6 points all.
Not tough to come up with that one, Cliff, after the net court, the bad mistake on the backhand, serving from the more difficult end. But Kuerten goes for his big one, his favorite serve. That one out wide in the ad court and connects. And now Agassi, in a weird way, Cliff needs this point because he's going to have to deal with the sun and the wind from that side now.
I entirely agree. This is a really big point for Agassi. Wide serve, second serve. Agassi was way back, actually.
He thought Kuerten was going to spin that serve down the middle and he was going to run around and roll a forehand, but Kuerten, gutsy, went for a hard serve out wide, and Agassi was caught cheating.
Set point, Kuerten.
You know, Cliff, when something works, you just keep going to the well with it. And Kuerten has connected on one forehand. That was that one where Agassi got the lead court, but that's the only one he's cleanly connected on in a while.
Kuerten hasn't seen a backhand serve since Monday from Agassi. Except that one was an effort to go in there.
He was going for the ace there.
7-all. Tie break. That one now. Kuerten, sun and wind behind him. And serving. Set point.
Agassi a little tight there because you knew he wanted to find the Kuerten forehand with the serve, but he didn't feel comfortable to go for that one out wide. He spun it down the middle and then made the error on the first ball.
Shot again. You gotta have some heart to hit that. Kuerten ready to break his racket, but that wasn't his fault.
Agassi's so good on this high ball, Cliff. He just throws everything into that shot. There is just no doubt in the mind of Agassi. He's going to go for it.
Caution, not in his vocabulary. Kuerten can't buy a first serve. Second serve must have been a mishit. It was a setup for Kuerten, and he wins the point. Set point Kuerten again, this time on Agassi's serve. 8-9. That's why, even in the tiebreak, players will change ends after every 6 points. It's 9-all. Most exciting moments that we have enjoyed here in Cincinnati in a match this week. Pressure is on.
Larry Passos is Kuerten's coach. Nine all. There was an onslaught from Agassi from the first swing in that point. Kuerten did well to hang in. Agassi pestering him with big shots from the ground. Here's his second match point. Agassi's been a little indecisive on some second serve returns in the tiebreak.
He'd like to see a second serve return for indecision. He doesn't want the first one. Watch this.
Oh. Monstrous serve from Kuerten. This time down the tee. 10 points all. 2 match points so far for Agassi. 3 set points for Kuerten.
Hits it long, and Agassi has another match point. He won the first set behind 2 breaks, easily 6-2. The second set has been a war. Third set point, this time on his serve with the sun behind him.
And the wind too, Cliff. Would not be a bad time to bring out that kick serve.
Racket is history, but that's minor compared to having lost the match here to Andre Agassi of the USA. Is in the semi-final. He'll take on Pete Sampras.